Hey everybody, it's Aldo Gandhi, and I just want to let you know really quickly that our swag shop is reopened. DeepDishTees.com is where you go, and that's tees with T-E-E-S. Clever name, guys. They're the new home of our merchandise. You can get t-shirts, you can get caps, you can get coffee mugs, you can get hoodies, you can get all sorts of good stuff, and you'll help out the bar room with the purchase. So head over to DeepDishTees.com. Every summer in Chicago, the sunshine spotlights the city's spectacular skyline. Its luxurious lakeshore, marvelous monuments, and the over 200 neighborhoods in the city. And it also brings to light two of the greatest sports franchises in the world. On the north side, it's the Cubs. On the south side, it's the White Sox. This is Crosstown Crosstalk.
Hello and welcome to episode number 4 of Crosstown Crosstalk. My name is Vinny.
And I'm Joey.
And I almost messed it up, dude.
Yeah.
One of my biggest shows, and I almost messed it up.
What was that? All right.
Yeah, I don't usually mess up my words too often because I'm awesome at talking, but we have a very special guest today. I'm just amped up.
Yeah, I mean, he's a great guy. We're big fans of him and the work he does, so I'm very excited.
Absolutely, and of course, we're talking about Barstool Chicago's own White Sox Dave, co-host of Redline Radio and a top-quality drafter on the snake drafts of the Dog Walk. Dave, how are you? I'm
doing great, guys. How you doing today?
Very good. First of all, thank you so much for coming on, man. We appreciate it more than you know.
Yeah, no problem. First of all, did you guys edit that intro yourselves? Because that was like awesome work.
That's Aldo, our director. He's amazing.
Yeah, that was incredible work right there.
Oh yeah,
I mean that all the summertime Chicago pictures gave me a little tingle down my spine. So
yeah, ready to get back at it this summer after the
yeah.
That was literally my reaction when I first saw it. I was like, "This is fucking amazing."
Even the Cubs part, and we're Sox guys, and we host this Crosstown Crosstalk to like bring both sides of town and talk about the MLB as a whole because we just love baseball. But like the whole thing in general is like, this is freaking awesome. This is everything we're about.
Yeah, I mean, we have a hot city. I get shit on because I said Nala was hot. I'm sure we'll talk about all that stuff later. But Chicago's a hot looking city. And I mean, it's aesthetically pleasing, and that's one of my favorite parts about this city.
Absolutely. I backed you on the Nala the Lioness thing. I just want you to know that. We debated it amongst our buddies, and like they all thought I was a weirdo.
See, it's crazy to me. People, so if this specific scene that I'm talking about is when Nala and Simba like reconvene and reunite in the jungle where he was living with Timon and Pumbaa. Mm-hmm. And then they're like frolicking in the grass and in the jungle and stuff. And he's kind of on top of her and she like gives him the fuck me eyes. And that doesn't make me horny for Nala. That's what she was doing to him. That was blatantly a sexual innuendo by Disney, who has never, ever, ever like not been known for sexual innuendos in their movies. So all of a sudden people are like, oh, bonk, bonk, like the horny duck and all that. I'm like,
yeah, the horny police.
What are you talking about? What are you talking about? Like, that's what she did.
It's like, just a fact.
Just a fact.
There's no denying it at all.
It's just a fact. So, but people, like the word I use is lemmings. They can't think for themselves anymore. They just have to follow the leader and just operate in nothing but hive mind. And I refuse to do that.
Absolutely. We're going to talk about some lemmings in a little bit because we got some shit to say about that. But first, let's talk about the White Sox just a little bit.
Got to.
That's what brings all three of us here. We're all three ginormous White Sox fans. It's awesome. And they're fun to watch this year. And the first person I wanted to bring up was Michael Kopech. You're on Twitter all the time. $300 million arm. He's going to make bank. He's so good. He's got the fuck you fastball. What do you think of Michael Kopech so far?
And this is not an indictment on what Rodon's done, what Giolito has done the last 2+ years. or what Keuchel's done over the course of his career, I still think that Michael Kopech is going to be the best pitcher on like over the course of this this window of competitiveness, I'll call it. His fastball is absurd. His command has become impeccable. He can dot I's at this point. Now it's always like, oh, is he going to throw strikes? He's healthy now. His frame is perfect. His breaking pitches are crazy. His changeup is an A+ pitch, and that's his third best pitch. I think he's going to be a superstar in every sense of the word, rather. And I think that he is going to be like the face of Chicago athletes at one point, because we all know he likes to date the movie stars and all that stuff. So I think he just, like, there's not one bad thing I can say about him as a pitcher or as a human. I've talked to him a handful of times. Awesome kid, awesome head on his shoulders. I cannot gush more over Michael Kopech.
Yeah, he's definitely my favorite pitcher. Anyone who's listened to this show, they know, like, I'm always talking so highly of him myself. But you mentioned Carlos Rodon, and I want to ask you your take on him and what's making him so damn good this year.
So I want to rewind that back to his appearance in it was Game 3 in the Oakland series in the playoffs last year. It was he was put in a really bad spot, and he was not good. And he gave up a bunch of runs. I think he got the loss in that game. Actually, he might have, but it was not a pretty outing if you're looking at just the box score. But in that outing, and I had talked to him like prior to this because I've gotten to know him on a personal level like pretty decently well, actually, enough to like where I don't really worry about reaching out if I ask him on my podcast or anything. But because he had that injury last year before that playoff outing. And he's like, hey, just so you know, like my carry on my fastball, like it's elite right now. I'm throwing harder than I ever have. And like, just watch when I come back. And I'm like, okay. So I'm like, all right, I'm thinking of the back. I've heard that before. Like third overall pick, like NC State phenom, should have probably gone one in his draft class. Like it's your 6th year, man. Like you're not like it's put up or shut up. But in that outing, he was throwing 97, 98. He just didn't really know where the ball was going. But that's whatever. So I'm thinking to myself, like, man, if he could put that together, that's like unhittable stuff coming from the left side because we know what his slider does. And if he can just develop an average changeup, like that's a good back into the rotation piece that you will get really cheap. Then, of course, they non-tendered him. No one thought he was going to be back with the White Sox. They ended up re-signing him for $3 million when he was due $6 million in arbitration. They said, no, we're not paying that. And look what he's done. He's throwing 97, 98. He's touching 99 late in games right now. And when he came on our show after he threw the no-no early in the year, I made sure to make it a point to tell him my favorite part about what he's doing right now is he's developed the ability to work off his changeup. And like, to me, that was always the separator, aside from health, of course, between him being just a middle rotation arm or even a bullpen arm and being a frontline starting pitcher. So now he can throw that changeup in any count he wants, and he can throw it for a strike, and he can get a swing and miss. And then you got a guy 0-2, 1-2, you're throwing 99 with run, or then you have that wipeout slider that has literally been unhittable this year. I think .069 batting average or something. Prior to the Cleveland start when he got hit around a little bit. But like what a good story that is. Like and this is a team that should be, and I'm sure, and I know we'll get to that soon, nothing but good story after good story. And he's right at the top of the list with Yermin Mercedes, just how awesome he's been this year.
Absolutely. And you knew, like you mentioned it, he could have been the first overall pick, and he ended up being the third. And Michael Kopech might be at the top of the rotation, but if Carlos Rodon, if he stays with the team and he stays healthy and he keeps throwing those 3 pitches the way that he can, there's no reason he can't be like – he started the season as the 5th starter, but now it's like, how do you call him the 5th starter when he's doing this? And when he beat out Raylo in the spring training, there was his second to last start in spring training was when I was like, oh, I know for a fact he's going to end up being in the rotation. Now we'll see what happens when the regular season starts because spring training is spring training. But I mean, he's been so sweet.
Yeah, he's been incredible. I mean, I said this the other day. I really think that they have the best rotation in baseball. I honestly think soon enough they'll have the best pitching staff in baseball, but we've seen the bullpen struggle a little bit. It's coming around. Hendricks has been unhittable, but that starting rotation, even with Giolito having that 2 or 3 stretch start stretch where he was not his typical ace self, it's one after the other that can go 6+ innings, have 10+ strikeouts, and just completely shut down a lineup. Obviously, Keuchel is on the downswing of his career, but as a guy that is pitching every 5 days, I won't call him a fifth starter per se. Who even really cares? Because you're going to get 5-6 innings out of him, and he's going to give up 3-4 runs. He's not going to get really shelled because he keeps hitters off balance still. But that's like something you can live with at every 5 days, especially when you have guys like Jose Abreu, Tim Anderson, Moncada, who's been unbelievable in the lineup. You should be able to put up enough to win a 6-inning, 4-run start from your 5th best pitcher.
Yeah, I don't think there's any question that they have the best rotation in baseball.
They do statistically too. ERA.
Yeah, I think it's pretty clear, especially like what you said, Giolito in his first few outings. Lately, though, he's been
he's back. Like
exactly.
People and White Sox fans, and I get that we're stir crazy because there was only a 60-game season last year, and we haven't seen any competitive baseball prior to last year for. I don't even want to say the Chris Sale years because they weren't really. They were more 500 baseball.
Yeah.
Like since the Konerko years, really, like the Sox haven't been good, and White Sox fans are starving for success. But White Sox fans have a tendency to lose their minds and be overreactionary when a pitcher or when a hitter goes through a 2 or 3 start or 2 or 3 game rough patch because we haven't seen any success. So like I try to take it upon myself to like hone everybody in and be like, yo, man, Lucas Giolito didn't just become a bad pitcher overnight. Like he's working with Ethan Katz now, who everybody credited him for all the world in 2019, 2020. Like you guys need to chill. Like Yoan Moncada started the season not hitting too well at all. Look what he's doing right now. Hitting over 300, getting on base at like a 430 clip almost, I want to say.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, I know he hasn't hit home runs, and then like it's just craziness to me. Like these guys are awesome. The clubhouse is awesome. There's not a shithead ego on the team. Everybody wants to win every single game, including Tony La Russa in that clubhouse, and that's what they're set out to do there. They want to bury teams, but that's, I mean, you're playing major league teams every single night. You're going to lose at least 60, at least 70 games,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Just chill out,
Mm-hmm.
relax.
No doubt. And you kind of mentioned it, like the White Sox fan base, they're kind of like a sleeping giant. Like,
oh yeah, it is.
They don't come out as in numbers like they do on the north side. Like we get the jokes all the time. They're old news now. Nobody laughs anymore. But someone who kind of epitomizes that to me is the only pitcher we haven't brought up yet, Lance Lynn. There was the tweet about him looking like he looks like a White Sox fan in his post-game interview. Like he looks like us.
He does.
The three of us could be eating a hot dog with him in the stand, and he would fit right in. He's technically been the best pitcher. I mean, he's awesome.
I mean, I would have absolutely zero issue if it's October 1st and he's starting game 1. Mm-hmm. Obviously, like I wouldn't be pissed if Rodon or Giolito or even Cease, like because I think he's going to start to go on another role. We've seen him improve, but Lance Lynn is just a bulldog. It seems like he's been in Chicago for his entire career, doesn't it?
Oh yeah, I mean,
he just reeks White Sox. White Sox.
When he starts, it's like this is only his 7th or 8th start with the White Sox. It's like, well, that doesn't feel right. He was playing with the Texas Rangers. He don't belong there.
No, he doesn't. Like he and that tweet that went viral, and like not one White Sox fan took offense to it. We all laughed at it because it's true.
Yeah,
he's a White Sox fan. Like he looks like a White Sox fan, and I have no idea what they plan on doing with him because obviously he's a 1-year, but he has to retire here. Like he has to.
I would think so. He fits right as dominant pitcher.
And he's 33 years old. I think he's a year older than me. And like he's not showing any signs of like aging at all. Like he's still throwing.
He's getting better.
He's getting better. And we're talking about fuck you fastballs. Like Kopech has that. Like when he wants it, Kopech has it.
Yeah.
every single pitch is a fuck you fastball. Like I saw a stat the other day. He's throwing like 80% fastballs, and every one of them is just like go and try to hit it, go and try to hit it, go and try to hit it.
And like when I think of that 2005 White Sox team, that's all of our favorite team forever, most likely. I mean, if they won it now, it'd be great. But that 05 team was so sweet. And one of the things they're known for is like in the ALCS, every pitcher throwing a complete game. Like Lance Lynn can do that. He kind of reminds me of like that old school White Sox.
Absolutely. That's a great call, actually. Couldn't agree more. He has that vibe about him. Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so I mean, we talked a lot about pitching, and you had mentioned it earlier about Yoan Moncada, and he's been sick as of late. Do you think he gets enough credit, or because I see a lot of stuff White Sox fans give him a hard time, you know, as he struggled early, but I think he's been awesome lately. And do you think he gets enough credit?
I don't see how people can discredit him right now. Like here's my thoughts on Yoan Moncada. One, statistically, he's the best player on the team.
Yeah.
The home runs will come. Actually, I got to tweet that in a second. Thank you for reminding me because we did an odds boost on that.
I'm backing you plus 550. I'm backing you. It's already
550 tonight. I forgot to promote that, and I'm going to get yelled at if I don't. So I'll do that right when we're done. And then, but like for me, and I've gotten yelled at for a handful of times because he doesn't. His body language isn't always the best. He's super mellow, super laid back, which is a blessing and a curse because I don't think he gets rattled under any situation. Like it could be game 7, full count, bases loaded, and a tie game. Like he's not rattled. He's just going to be the same person. But at the same time, you like to see that fire, that like Tim Anderson or Euro Mercedes, you know, the fist bumping and the yelling. That's not him. So body language wise, like if he were more rah-rah, I don't think he would get an ounce of shit from White Sox fans. That's just not who he is, though. So, but like, I still think he's going to end up with 20 plus bombs this year. He'll probably get on base at like a 390 plus clip and hit somewhere near 300. Like, how can you complain about that?
Exactly.
Like, that's and you're not even adding in, he's an unbelievable third baseman defensively. So, like, you got a complete player. Why bitch about him, you know?
Yeah, I agree. People get on him for his body language, and some people were annoyed at the music video. It's like, I got 2 examples of how much winning means to him. Whether you like the decision or not, he slid into first base on that one game where they had a chance to tie it. If he would have been safe, they would have tied it. And then there was the time he got pegged at home because he didn't listen to the stop sign on third base or whatever. Both of those times, right or wrong in his decision-making, he was giving everything he could to winning. And to me, that's body language of trying to win as much as possible.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. Like that, and I've tried to say this publicly on every forum I've been given. Like these guys, like Lucas Giolito, for instance. You see the commercial that they play 100 times, like Lucas Giolito, worst pitcher in baseball in 2018.
Yeah.
These guys hate losing more than the fan base hates losing. These guys are the ones doing the losing. They're the ones that, like, they know when they lose a baseball game, they fucked up. They don't sleep well because of it. They want nothing more than to get to the next day and start it over because they want to win. And that Tony La Russa counts in that. Like, they have an insatiable appetite for victory. They expect to be World Series champion this year. And I don't care what anybody says. If each and every player in that clubhouse expects to be World Series champions, that thinks they can't expect to be, then fan base should too.
No,
completely.
And that goes from Yoan Moncada, best player in the roster, through the pitching staff, through whoever's going to be the 26th man at the end of the year.
Yeah, absolutely. Joe, Tim Anderson.
What? You want me to ask?
I could do it. Tim Anderson, he basically epitomizes everything we talked about. He's got the body language to win. He kind of acts like a coach. He doesn't get the credit that someone like Javier Baez gets when he's running, telling guys to go home while he's caught in a rundown. He's just the fire of the team.
Tim Anderson's the perfect face for the organization for what he does on the field and off the field. Obviously plays like the most important defensive position, outside catcher. He's the captain of the I would say he's the English-speaking captain, with the Brave being the Spanish-speaking captain. It's unbelievable watching how smart of a baseball player he's become. Because, I mean, and it's not completely true, because he didn't just pick up a baseball glove as a sophomore in high school or whatever. He played baseball all throughout his life. He was just more of a basketball player. But he like cerebral, like it. You watch him how he approaches each and every pitch and how he makes in at bat adjustments. And like you said, the rundown the other day, how he kind of like I was watching that rundown and I'm like, he's got a monster like the Sandlot quote, like he's got a suicide lead over at first base. Like I was like, he's gonna get picked, and if he doesn't get picked, he's gonna steal second. But if he gets picked, I think he's baiting them into just getting the run across. And that's exactly what happened. Like you could see, like you could grab his thought process as if it was like a physical matter out of air. And you watch him like he cheats curveball, or he'll just work the opposite way. And he's not a big guy at all. He's got power to all fields. The evolution of Tim Anderson, the baseball player, coming from this raw toolsy guy out of Alabama to junior college has been incredible because he's one of the premier shortstops in baseball. And there's not anybody I'd rather have at shortstop than him. I love Tim Anderson more than I love life itself.
Oh, yeah. He's probably one of the top 5 hitting shortstops in the league, would you say?
Yeah, absolutely. I wish he'd walk more, but, I mean, he is what he is as a hitter at this point. Obviously, he's in a little bit of a rough patch right now, but we all know what he's going to do. He's going to hit 300. He's going to get on base at a 330 clip. He's going to hit 20 bombs. He's playing excellent defense at shortstop right now, and he, like you guys said, he's the coach of everybody on the field, not just in the dugout.
Yeah. So one more thing, Dave. Before the season started, you went live on Instagram Live, I think it was, when Eloy got hurt. And you were sad. You can see the emotion. And you told everyone what you thought this season would be like for Eloy and how high you think of him and his ceiling that he has. So I just want you to tell our listeners about Eloy and what to expect from him when he comes back.
So Eloy, I'll say this. I hope he never plays defense again. And I say this without embellishment. He makes plays or doesn't make plays in the outfield. I would have gotten mad at high school kids I coached back when I was coaching. He's that bad defensively. I'm not saying one of the worst. He's the worst defensive outfielder I've ever seen play baseball. And people always try to compare him to Schwarber. Schwarber turned into a fine outfielder. Not a good outfielder, but a passable outfielder. Yeah. And Eloy is not that. I hope he DHs and never grabs a glove again unless he absolutely has to in a big interleague game or hopefully the World Series one day. But you watch him as a hitter and just mountaintop power, light tower power. He's going to hit for average. He doesn't strike out. He uses all fields. I think just you keep him healthy, and I think him and Andrew Vaughn are going to be the 2 best hitters in the middle of that order for the next 8 years, whatever they're controlled for. I can't think higher of him, the hitter. You just got to keep him healthy, and one way to do that is to never let him play the outfield again because we've seen him get hurt. I mean, it's going to cost him 6 months this year. It's cost him when he dove into the net, when he rolled his ankle. I think that was at Yankee Stadium, was it? A couple years, 2 years ago when he lost like a month of the year.
Yeah.
He's like we're watching these clips right now. There's not one pitcher in baseball that can really overpower him on a consistent basis. He can hit any pitch. He hits the pitch, each pitch where it's thrown, powered. Like here's an opposite field home run right here. I love him, the hitter. Just keep him off the field.
He adjusts too. He's not afraid of any pitcher. He just wants to go out there and hit the ball hard, and he's so successful at it. There's nothing he really can't do. And when you say that he's going to be the best hitter with Vaughn in the middle of the lineup, then you supplement that with Moncada, who might be the best overall player on the roster. Luis Roberts not going anywhere. I know he's hurt right now, but he might be the best 5-tool player on the team. And then you got Nick Madrigal hitting 300 from the 9 spot.
Yep.
Tim Anderson's elite. We don't know what's going to happen with Abreu after 2 years from now. But, I mean, there's a lot of good.
Yeah, I think with Robert, and I got shit on for saying this 2 spring trainings ago, that I thought Luis Robert was going to have struggles right off the bat.
Yeah, I remember that.
People are like, are you fucking kidding? Look at us. I'm like, no, well, watch his at-bats in AAA. He cannot lay off a good hard slider out and off the plate right now. and he's kind of a free swinger. You combine those two things, there's going to be a lot of strikeouts. I was actually kind of wrong for the first month of the 60-game season, and then we saw what he did in the second half, and the league adjusted to him. Then you get to the playoff series, he adjusted back. Then you get to 2021, and he hit a casual 300 before he got hurt, and he didn't even get hot yet. And we saw it in the first, 4 or 5 games or whatever, where he was struggling with that slider off the plate again. But you could see him at bat and pitch to pitch make a conscious effort to lay off that pitch. And once he got comfortable doing so, and pitchers were forced to throw pitches over the plate, he hit a casual 300. He was awesome, but wasn't even tapping into anywhere close to the ceiling of what he could be. He only had the 1 home run before he got hurt. And we're talking about all these guys. I'm like, oh, I love Eloy Jimenez. I love Andrew Vaughn. I love Yoan Moncada. He might be the best one out of all of them. And we're talking about him last,
Yeah, and he can put on the glove and make plays like we just saw there.
Exactly. Just an A+ defensive center, which you need right now. I mean, Vaughn out of nowhere is completely fine, maybe even a little better than average left fielder. But with Eloy in left, you really need someone who can play center field, and he's as good as anybody out there.
Yeah, I mean, the first month of the season, they didn't know how to attack him, and then you only played the 60 games, and they were all against the same 8 opponents. So those guys started to figure him out, and then when he got to the playoffs, it was the A's first time seeing him, and he crushed them.
Yep.
So people are going to adjust to him, and then he's got to adjust back. And like you said, it felt like he kind of got off to a slow start when you think about it, but he didn't really even.
No, he didn't. He really didn't. It was a very, very casual 300. I forget what his on, 330 or 40 or whatever his on base was, but he was hitting gaps. He already had 11 or 12 doubles before he got shelved, which was an 80 double pace.
Yeah.
So
absolutely. Well, before we let you go, I want to know, do you think either of us could do the 999 challenge?
Honestly, it wasn't that hard.
Thank you, Dave.
I did. I was eating and drinking in the parking lot tailgating before that game even started. I didn't go to the game planning to do that. I got scout tickets from a buddy who his company has scout seats, and they'll toss them to me a few times a year when nobody can use them. So I'm like, hey, it's free food. I'm not spending $8 a hot dog and $12 a beer to do this. Let's see if we can do it and just make us a cheap, shitty video out of it, And the worst part by far was at dog 7, you stopped really tasting the hot dog, and it just tasted like you were eating pure salt. So it was and I did another eating challenge. You guys know where Cheesy's is in Lakeview?
I do not.
It's a restaurant. It's actually a pretty cool place. It's like an arcade kind of, and then but their specialties are just different kinds of grilled cheeses. But you can get anything there. They had a 10-pound grilled cheese challenge that I tried to do, and I got through half of it before I wanted to puke. But all I could taste in the cheese was whatever the dairy product was. You stopped tasting the cheese, so it was the same thing. But in terms of difficulty, it wasn't very difficult.
Yeah.
Okay, interesting to know.
We've been debating that since you did it pretty much, because I want to try it so bad. I can't wait for Dollar Hot Dog.
People ask me that all the time, and I'm like, I wish I could say it was some Herculean feat, but it really wasn't that difficult. It was 9 beers with. I was definitely drunk afterwards.
Yeah,
but but as far as some grueling task, it wasn't that bad.
Absolutely. Well, Joe, do you have anything left for Dave before we let him go?
Well, I don't know how much you wanted to get into it, but I wanted to ask you a little bit about the Barstool Barn Burner that you guys
announced. So just announced that today. So this would have been in about July of 2019. I was driving home. I was somewhere on the south side, and old coworker of mine that at my old job before we went full time with Barstool. He's a friend of mine who I've stayed in touch with. He's like, hey, my cousins own the Field of Dreams and they want to tell you something. Can I give him your number? I'm like, yeah, sure, whatever. And I'm driving home. I get a call from this older guy. He's a lawyer in his 60s or whatever. And he's like, hey, Dave, my kids follow you. I got kids in college, whatever it was. My wife, her family, and my kids all own the farm that the Field of Dreams movie set is located on. And tomorrow morning, they're about to announce the Yankees White Sox Field of Dreams game. Obviously, that got canceled. This was 2019. They were going to announce it for 2020. Obviously, it got canceled. He's like, you guys can do whatever you want with the movie set. It is because they're huge Barstool fans. They want you guys to come out, like, have at it. Like the entire farm is yours. So we had this planned out a couple years ago to do this. We're going to draft 2 teams. It's going to be Redline Radio versus Starting Nine, Jared Kravis and Dallas Braden's podcast. And we're going to play a game on the Field of Dreams. And I'm going to be a coach with Carl for our team. And Dallas and Jared are going to coach their team. And we're going to legit draft players to come play. So if you are interested in playing, there's a bunch of form, or not bunch. You got to fill out one form and submit a video. We think we're going to get legit talent out there. Like JUCO kids that can throw 90. Maybe a couple kids that, got drafted and then, made it to, high A or something before they got released, like players like that.
Yeah.
So we've already gotten like hundreds of submissions. So we got to like go and watch all the videos. But yeah, we're gonna grill out the entire time. Fans can come. There's gonna be like a ton of beer there. We're gonna make it a whole spectacle for people, and that'll be the weekend before the actual Field of Dreams game against the Yankees this summer in August.
I cannot wait for that game. I was going to say, like, oh, you got 2 first basemen right here and a designated hitter potentially. But if I'm facing a kid who's played my high A baseball and he's throwing 94, I would look like Tim Tebow facing Jacob deGrom on a nice 3 mix.
That's what we're going to be getting. I'm already getting texts from like high school buddies that I played with, that kids that haven't touched a mid or ball in a decade. They're like, hey, can I play in that? It's like, no. No. I mean, you could submit a video and maybe like all the other videos are so bad that you can, but probably not. So,
well, maybe me and Joey will take a ride up to Iowa.
Yeah, it's going to be open. It's going to be open invite in that regard. There's going to be stands and everything. So, we're not selling tickets or anything like that. So yeah, in that regard, come on out.
Awesome.
Yeah, looking forward to it.
This was a blast. Sorry to keep you a little longer.
No.
But
anytime, fellas.
We had a great time. Is there anything else you want to promote yourself? Redline Radio? What's going on real quick?
Yeah, Redline Radio, the Dog Walk. I'm not a part of it, but the Dave Portnoy show with Eddie. And just follow along all our video stuff and podcasts. We're going to start doing it now that we have a studio. We can't do it quite yet because we're not fully capable of doing the live streams in the office because we're still kind of under construction. But we're going to start a daily like radio show like we used to with Sirius soon enough eventually as well.
Absolutely. So excited for all of it. We can't thank you enough for coming on.
Yeah, anytime, fellas. Always just a message away. So let me know.
All right. Maybe we'll have you on closer to promote that Field of Dreams thing again and talk White Sox Yankees. All right.
Love it.
Have a good one, Dave. Good rest of your day.
Yeah, thanks, fellas. I'll catch you guys soon.
Absolutely. And that, everyone, was White Sox Dave of Barstool Sports Chicago. What did you think?
That was awesome. What a nice guy. I mean, we've met him before and we've talked, but just being able to sit down and talk White Sox with him, like that was fun. Obviously,
he didn't remember you and your elite shuffleboarding skills, I'm sure. Go ahead.
I'm pretty sure by the time we played shuffleboard together, that was like, 3 years ago now?
Yeah, and we were all very intoxicated.
Yeah, I was going to say he was pretty drunk, and I mean, that's probably
I don't remember getting home.
Yeah, that's probably why he sucked at shuffleboard.
Yeah, say it when he gets off screen, clown.
I mean, I'm sure he would love to go again. I'm sure next time we're at a meet and greet like that, or we're watching a draft or something.
Yeah, that was the NHL draft. Make sure you watch Bar Down Blackhawk Talk every Tuesday or Wednesday at 2 p.m. What did you think of some of his answers? I mean, let's just get into it. Talk White Sox. I mean, Rodon, Kopech.
Yeah, he was spot on with Lance Lynn. Like,
yeah, oh yeah,
that guy is awesome.
He's a White Sox fan playing for the White Sox.
Exactly.
Kind of got like a big chubby face and a beard, and you could just picture him dummying a great tasting, less filling in a hot dog in the stands if he weren't a Major League Baseball player.
Yeah, and his take on Eloy, and he agrees with me. I've been saying for a while now that Eloy should just DH and figure it out later. of whose spot he would take. But I agree with that. And
if we ever have him back, I'd like to get more thoughts on that, because I know Dave, he like coaches base, or he used to. He's very good with his baseball knowledge. A lot of people like, the dog walk and stuff like to leave him off or become lemmings, like he said. Mm-hmm. He knows baseball, and he knows how to talk from like a coaching point of view. And I would like to know what his thoughts are on like the mental aspect of the game, with like, if Eloy's playing DH, is that going to affect his hitting because he's in the game less? And I know you got to preserve his health, which is super important. So I don't know.
Yeah, I don't see any of that stuff with him. I just don't.
Well, White Sox, they just got done with they split a doubleheader with the Cleveland Indians and then lost the next day to Shane Bieber. And before that, they swept the Baltimore Orioles. And they weren't able to play the Wednesday game against the Indians because of weather issues. And it was going to be Lance Lynn against the guy making his MLB debut. So you liked their chances in that one. But what's your overall take of the White Sox since our last show?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's been pretty good. The Indians won kind of, hit or miss. Like you said, they missed the game because didn't we predict records? And they finished 5-2. Do you remember what we had them at?
I had them going 3-1 against Cleveland, or against Baltimore, and I had them splitting with Cleveland, I believe.
And I had them sweeping against Baltimore and splitting against Cleveland, right?
Yeah, so you probably would have been spot on had they played that game, because I do truly believe they would have won the game that got rained out.
That's what I'm thinking. That's if I actually had them sweeping Baltimore, which I think I did. They were on that huge losing streak going into it. I will
when we get to the Cubs, though, we're gonna stop bragging about our picks.
yeah, we were.
Yeah, way off.
I mean, credit to them. Holy,
absolutely. But we didn't talk too much about Dylan Cease. Dave mentioned that he thinks he's going to go on a nice little run, and he's got grade A stuff. And once he learns how to control it, he'll be an ace type pitcher. And then the White Sox could legitimately have 4 or 5 aces. I mean, I know that's crazy talk, but it's true. And what's your take on Dylan Cease? I mean, tough to read when he's starting. It's like, is this going to be good Dylan Cease? Is this going to be average Dylan Cease?
Yeah, so far we've seen good Dylan Cease. That game against, I think it was against the Orioles on the 27th of May. I watched that game. He went 6 innings. He had 10 strikeouts with a 1.5 ERA and a 1 WHIP, and he got the W in that one. Most recently, he didn't do that great. He went 3 innings, only had 2 strikeouts, and finished the game with a 16.2 ERA. So, I mean, I'd like to see him get hot here, and there's definitely been signs of that recently, but he's just got to be a little more consistent with his starts. Don't you agree?
Yeah, I mean, like I said, he's got the fastball that can touch 98, 99, and his sliding or his breaking stuff, he throws the knuckle curve and he gets guys. His slider's real nice. He's just a nice pitcher, but when his command is off, it leads to walks, and then he gets frustrated. And so it's like, it kind of reminds me of like older Giolito, like back in the day, Giolito, when he was the worst pitcher in baseball. And once he figures it out, it's going to be like magic. Like he's just going to go from, he kind of was already like the bad pitcher that like when he starts, it's like, oh God, what are we going to get? And now he's kind of like in the middle where it's like, he can be either or. But eventually I do believe we're going to get to a point where like, oh, Cease is on the mound. The White Sox have a chance to win this game. If they put together 3 or 4 runs, they'll be able to win this game. And then when the lineup is fully healthy, I mean, you can almost bank on 4 runs alone.
Yeah, I was going to say the run support will be there a little more, gracefully than it is now, but it's there now.
And that's the thing. I don't think people realize how special what the White Sox are doing. Like, in a way, both Chicago teams are in first place as underdogs. I know the White Sox roster is like elite, but it's missing 2 key pillars. I mean, and I don't know, can any team other than the White Sox sustain those types of injuries? Like the Dodgers lost Bellinger, right?
And yeah,
they were in third place. I know they're in a way better division. That doesn't help them. But like, imagine if the Cubs lost Bryant and Baez, or if the St. Louis Cardinals lost Goldschmidt and Arenado, or Judge and Gleyber Torres or whatever 2 Yankee pillars you want to pick out. That's what the White Sox are doing right now.
Yeah, but the only difference in all of the teams that you just mentioned and the White Sox is they can make up for that lack of offense with, like we said with Dave, they have the best rotation. I don't think it's even close. And
Yeah.
that could be what's winning them games. Like their rotation and defensive pitching is what's holding them in this.
Well, pitching and power are kind of 2 keys to Major League Baseball in 2021. And the White Sox have the pitching, and a lot of the times they have the power. I mean, Andrew Vaughn is capable of taking Aroldis Chapman deep. Once he becomes a more refined hitter, I don't think there's any way they don't see him as like a 4th or 5th guy in the lineup. Jimenez can hit baseballs to Pluto. He might have the best power on the team. And Robert and Moncada are both elite hitters, and they haven't even shown too much power yet. It's all been doubles and triples and, a home run here or there. But if those guys start cranking out home runs, I mean, the sky's the limit for this team.
Exactly. And Lucas Giolito, we talked about Cease and Lance Lynn, but Lucas Giolito, as of late, has been awesome. He's won 3 of his last 4 starts, and his most recent start. Is he going tonight, or who's going tonight?
Lance Lynn is on tonight.
Lance Lynn's going tonight.
He's facing Casey Mize of the Detroit Tigers, who is kind of like a Dylan Cease, where like he was the number 1 overall pick in the draft. He's an elite pitching prospect. Once he reaches his ceiling, when we face the Tigers, it's going to be like, oh, shit, we're facing Casey Mize tonight?
Mm-hmm.
All right, Eloy, do your job. You know what I'm saying? Like, he's that type of pitcher.
So I'm assuming that they'll have Gio tomorrow.
I believe Giolito goes tomorrow. Yes, he probably would have started today had the game on Wednesday not gotten rained out.
So I expect another very good start from Lucas in his next start against Detroit. In his last start, he went 7, throwing 12 strikeouts with a 1.29 ERA, and he got the win in that one as well. So
previewing the Tigers, you got Lance Lynn versus Casey Mize tonight, like I mentioned. Oh, Dallas Keuchel's going tomorrow. Okay. He's facing Turnbull. That's right. I wrote an article literally about the pitching matchups this morning. And you would think I remember, like, it's posted on SouthsideShowdown.com right now. And I have all the pitching matchups in it. And you would think I remember something I wrote however many hours ago, but we've been prepping for this show. My brain is just a noodle right now. So
there's a lot
to face Tariq Skubal, who Detroit only has 3 probables listed, at least the last time I looked. There's 4 games, but only the first 3 are listed for Detroit. And all 3 of them are like their version of Giolito, Cease, and Kopech. Like, they're 3 guys. And the one that Giolito's going to face is one of the ones that has, like, mightily struggled so far this season. But like I said, I believe Detroit in the long term is the scariest team in the division because of their prospects and, like, what they're doing. And they're going to have another top 5 pick again this year. I don't know if a lot of people agree with me on that, but I'm not looking forward to facing Skubal and Turnbull and Casey Mize in the next 5 years.
Yeah, and we'll see how they develop, and if they can, become that kind of rotation like the Sox have. Who knows?
And Chicago, Detroit would just be so sweet. We have it in every sport except baseball. I mean, it's there in baseball.
It was there a long time ago.
Well, they just stomped on us in the early 2010s when they had Miggy and Prince Fielder, and their rotation was something like Justin Verlander, Max Scherzer, David Price, Rick Porcello, Anibal Sanchez. I mean, it was so sweet for them back then.
Pretty much every Cy Young guy who's no longer with the team.
All 5 of those guys I just named went on to win the World Series with someone else. And they made up their rotation in the early 2010s.
That's crazy.
They literally might be one of the best teams ever to not win the World Series. Because I remember when David Ortiz hit that grand slam against them, and me and you blew off fireworks because we're big Red Sox fans aside from our White Sox fan, and we like the Red Sox a little bit. Like, that's who we rooted for in the playoffs because the White Sox were never there.
Was that the ALCS that year?
Yep.
They went on to beat the Cardinals that year in the World Series, right?
Yes. Right. And then Detroit I want to say they beat the Rangers in an ALCS one year too. And then they lost to, did they lose to the Giants in the World Series maybe? It might have been the Giants actually.
The Cardinal or no,
the
Tigers?
Yeah. They were damn good in the early 2010s when they had Prince Fielder and.
Well, yeah, so were the Giants. They won it in 12 and 14, I remember.
And 10.
And 10, there you go. Against the Tigers, what's your record? What do you got? 4-game series, all at home.
3-1.
Same.
I got them. If I had, they could go 3-1 in any way. That's kind of not really how we do it. We just kind of give out numbers. But if I'm looking at one that worries me a little bit, it's Dallas Keuchel versus Spencer Turnbull.
That's exactly what I have.
I mean, this guy threw a no-hitter earlier in the year. Like, he's a damn good pitcher. The White Sox bats, if they go cold against him, it wouldn't surprise me. And if they light him up, it wouldn't surprise me either. But, I mean, Dallas Keuchel, he's probably the 6th pitcher when Kopech is healthy. People don't want to admit it. But, I mean, yeah, that's the one I was looking at as like, all right, if you go 1-1 to start the series, finish him off on Saturday and Sunday, and we'll be all good.
And that's the one I'm most confident in is Saturday. I know we got Lance Lynn tonight. Saturday is going to be Giolito and then Rodon on Sunday.
Yeah.
Saturday to me is going to be the biggest, like.
It's Joey's take the White Sox money.
That's my take the White Sox. Yeah, you'll probably even get the best value. Maybe. I don't know. But yeah, Saturday I see them winning that game for sure. Lucas Giolito is just getting better and better each start, it seems.
Absolutely. So what about the Blue Jays after that? Because that's one that will be after Detroit, but before our next show.
Yeah, I actually think the last game, because there is a day off, and I think the last game is going to not happen yet when we record.
Yeah, you're right. Because they have the day off on Monday.
Mm-hmm. I just got sidetracked. I was looking at the score, and I saw the Red Sox were up 3-0 on the.
Talk about a must-win.
Yeah, right. And the Yankees are getting
by Houston with the going to the Yankees.
Yeah, and the Rays are taking care of business against the Yankees right now. They're up 9-2.
They're so good, the Rays.
I know. I said it. I said that the Yankees were the 3rd best team in that division. I was talking highly of the Rays last week. But anyway, against the Jays, I think the White Sox will sweep.
No respect for Toronto.
They'll sweep the Jays. I mean, I don't know the pitching matchup, though. The only game I see them winning is if my guy starts, which he might get one.
Ryu?
You know that is Ryu, yeah.
I mean, the White Sox have pitching and they have hitting. Like, they have a great starting lineup. So it wouldn't surprise me if the Blue Jays score a boatload of runs, but the White Sox should be able to against their pitching. So yeah, I actually do like the White Sox in that series. I'm not going to call a sweep. I'll say 2-1, but maybe we'll go 2-0 into Game 3 during our show on next Thursday.
Yeah. So in 7 games, I'm saying 1 loss.
Yeah. So our guest was White Sox Dave. We got a couple Cubs guests lined up that are in my brain to reach out to over the next couple weeks. So don't be too offended that this show's a little extra Sox heavy, but we will talk about the Cubs right now. Man, they are so good right now.
Probably the hottest team in baseball.
Part of me wonders if they're like the Blackhawks, where like they're hot, but they know that they have 3 big free agents and you could trade Craig Kimbrell. And I'm wondering if they're setting themselves and their fans up for failure. But right now, there's no reason to believe that because they just swept the best team in the National League.
One of the best teams in the National League in the San Diego Padres, yeah.
I think they're the best when healthy.
I mean, it's up for debate. I think those top 3 teams are all pretty equal, with the Dodgers probably having the slight
edge. I know. They have, I mean, when you have a rotation that starts with Walker Buehler, and then it goes to Trevor Bauer, and then it goes to Clayton Kershaw, and it's not like the guys pitching behind them are scrubs either. I mean, it's hard to go against that, but, I mean, they have Snell and Darvish. Now, one thing I wanted to bring up to you, do you think the Cubs are going to ultimately regret this season trading Yu Darvish? Because to me, the one thing they're missing is like a true ace. If they had Darvish on their team right now, then I would put them up against those teams as one of the elites in the NL.
I would say yes, they do miss having that true ace, only because Jake Arrieta has not been that great.
I mean, anybody who didn't see that coming is he's not ass. He's just not the old Jake Arrieta that some people thought they were getting.
Yeah, but I feel like the gap between Arrieta and Darvish is bigger than people kind of hope for.
Well, I think Zach Davies has to come into this conversation too.
Oh, yeah. The
gap between Zach Davies and Yu Darvish is monumental.
Yeah, he needs to be and he was great with Milwaukee, right? He was with Milwaukee, I think.
Padres too, of course.
And I thought he was a great pitcher, and it's just I say it every week it seems, but the consistency isn't there for Zach
I'll
Davies.
say it was a horrible trade for the Cubs going into this season because they didn't get the return that they thought they were going to get for a pitcher like that, and clearly they only sold a couple pieces. Like they gave up Darvish, they let Schwarber walk, they let Lester walk, but you have Bryant, you have Rizzo, you have Baez. We don't know if you're going to sign them. What are you? And that's why I have written down Cubby confusion, because if they had Darvish, Cubby confusion is a term I heard on the radio. Shout out to Captain J Hood, my favorite morning show. If they had Darvish, that's your game one starter in the playoffs, right? And if he's going up against a Clayton Kershaw or a Trevor Bauer or Blake Snell on the Padres, like, you like your chances. And then if he's got to go in a game 5 and then give you 2 or 3 innings in a game 7, that's possible. That's what aces do. And they don't have that. So you can't really put them up against the Dodgers or the Padres at this point in time.
And if you have Darvish, it kind of gives you that 1-2 punch, because I think that Kyle Hendricks has been, since we started this show, it seems, he's been like a lot better. He's won 6 of his last 8 starts dating back to April 23rd.
Yeah, I mean, Kyle Hendricks is the perfect number 2. He could be a number 1. He's good enough to be a number 1. I just don't know if him being a number 1 wins you a World Series. Because when the Cubs won the World Series, he was the clear number 3. I mean, when you have Jake Arrieta in his Cy Young years, and of course John Lester in his prime, those are 1 and 1A or 1 and 1B, however you describe these things. I think if Hendricks was the number 2 and you're going into game 2 against Trevor Bauer and you already have a 1-0 series lead because Darvish got you the win the night before, I like their chances so much more if they have Darvish. It's hard. It's hard to win without that true ace that you can throw 3 times in a 7-game series.
Mm-hmm. And this year, Adbert Alzolay. I mess up his pronunciation every time. I cannot remember it for some reason. He's been awesome. He's
probably been their best pitcher.
Yeah, most consistent. Yeah.
So if the Cubs rotation this year going into the playoffs, okay, let's just start with the DS, a 5-game series. You got Darvish, Hendricks, and Alzolay. You could sweep that series. It can happen.
Yeah, definitely. Larry asks, would you rather have Hendricks or Dallas Keuchel?
Oh, Hendricks.
Yeah, Kyle Hendricks for sure.
Hendricks is the only pitcher on the Cubs rotation I would take. And that's not a diss to Alzolay. He's great. I just would rather Rodon, Lynn, Giolito, and Cease. I mean, maybe Alzolay's been a little better. I mean, but can you even say he's been better than Cease? I don't know. I like Kyle Hendricks a lot, and I kind of like his style too. He's just kind of like a soft tossing, like they put the ball in play and they get out. Yeah, I said the Cubs don't really stack up with the Dodgers in the playoffs. Yes, I do believe that. I know what they just did. I also know what the difference is between May and October. I mean, do you take too much stock in that going forward?
And what
the Cubs beating beating the May Dodgers and the May Padres?
No, I mean, to me, this series, this upcoming 7-game stretch that we're about to talk about, is going to really kind of show us, because it's in California. So they have a 4-game series against San Francisco, and then they're back against the Padres in San Diego. Do I think they're going to sweep these teams? No. I actually think they're probably going to lose both of these series. They're going to cool down.
The Cubs are great. I'm not saying they're not. But I mean, I'm not going to sit here and act like them being hot right now is just good. I mean, the World Series odds go 1 and 2 Dodgers Padres for a reason. Now, can the Cubs pull an upset? Yeah, they have players like Bryant and Rizzo, but it would be an upset in the eyes of most people. Don't you agree?
Oh, 100%. The Dodgers, to me, are the best team in the league.
I mean, and they're in 3rd place.
Exactly.
Bellinger was gone for a while. That doesn't help. But, I mean, and I'm not saying the Cubs are a great story. Patrick Wisdom, I mean, my goodness. This guy just continues to hit home. He's their Yermin Mercedes, I would say. They're getting production from everyone, and it's great to see. They have an amazing bullpen. I think they could trade Kimbrel and still have a great bullpen.
Maybe, but I don't know. I think Craig Kimbrel has been like
he's been like the old Craig.
Yeah, probably like the best we've seen him in a long time. Even before he was like doing it with the Red Sox.
He kind of fell off with the Red Sox a little bit. The writing was on the wall that he was going to start the way he did with the Cubs when he was with the Red Sox.
Yeah. I say don't trade. I think that would be so foolish to trade Craig Kimbrel. I don't care how many years all these guys have left.
Yeah, I agree. No, I'm not dismissing the May Cubs. They're playing great. I mean, don't you? I mean, where are you on that?
No, I think they're playing great. I think they're hot. I think they're hot, especially more than anything. To say that they're a better team than the Dodgers or Padres, they're not. I don't care how many May series they win against them. Yeah, they're good, but I mean,
they have to prove it a little more.
Yeah,
because could the bats easily go back to what they? I mean, I don't know if they're going to go back to what they were before the hot streak, but
I think Javi especially is
Javi's on fire.
Yeah, so he's
not going anywhere.
Yeah, in the past month, he's got 25 hits and 94 at bats for a 2.66 average, which is good. It's way better than how he started. 4 home runs in that span, 10 RBIs, and 2 stolen bases. And I don't even think that includes his steal to first base.
And Chris Bryant could play every position. He's as valuable as any player in the league right now. I would probably say he's right there with Tatis for most valuable player in the NL right now. I mean, there are probably some other names that I'm glossing over, but I just think June is a huge month for the Cubs. And I'm not sitting here acting like what I'm saying right now is definitive for the whole season. They can go into August with me thinking they're a better team than the Padres. I just need to see it for more than 2 weeks.
Oh, I agree completely.
And the Padres have proved something to me because they played an incredible series with the Dodgers last year, and they steamroll. When they win, they steamroll. And going into the Cubs series, they had the best record in the NL. And when the lineup has guys like Manny Machado and Eric Hosmer and Fernando Tatis Jr., and the rotation is Blake Snell and Yu Darvish, I'm looking at the players on the team and I'm like, whoa, that's a really good lineup.
I agree. And I also agree that this is a very big month, and I'm only going to take it week by week because we're going to do this show every week. So if you want to hear my takes for 2 weeks, just listen to next week's show. And that's this upcoming week. We have the Giants. All these games are on the road, a big road trip. Giants and Padres. They just swept the Padres in Chicago. Expect a completely different series going to San Diego. And everyone, and it's been happening all year long, they go into San Francisco and they underlook the San Francisco Giants. Be ready for that, because if there's a road trip that's going to cool off the Chicago Cubs, it's going to be this one.
And if they come out of it hot, then it's going to be hard to talk about trading anyone.
I say right now it's hard to talk about trading anyone.
I mean, what is it? It's 4 against the Giants and then 3 against the Padres. I mean, if they come out of that, what would it be, 5-2? I mean, that would be incredible. That would be so good for them.
The goal of the regular season is to make the playoffs. Correct? They can do that with this roster. Trading them would lower their chances of doing that. I would say they can easily do that with this roster.
Absolutely.
So trading everyone would not solve anything. It would literally hurt them, because your goal, and I know you should look at the future and all, but how much is their division changing? Like, let's focus on right now, and they are hot. They are probably the best team in the past week.
Yeah.
Maybe outside of Tampa Bay has been pretty on fire. But I say keep everyone, unless because what could the return possibly be? Are there any teams that would take Chris Bryant right now and give you the prospect pool that you are looking for?
Well, a good example I've heard, and I wrote an article about it, I would not do it for the White Sox, but let's say Brian Cashman of the New York Yankees calls Jed Hoyer, and he offers him his best hitting prospect and his best pitching prospect. And for comps, let's say it's like their version of Andrew Vaughn and their version of Jared Kelly, who's the White Sox top pitching prospect that's not in the majors right now. Let's say it's those comps of those two in the Yankees system. Does he make that trade? If he went to Bryant and said, "You resigning?" and he goes, "No," it's very tough. It's very difficult to like think about making decisions like that.
Yeah, it is.
Because Jed probably also looks at the Padres and the Giants and says, I know we're not as deep as those teams, but we can be as hot as those teams. Do I take my chances? Would it surprise you if the Cubs beat one of those two teams in the playoffs?
The Dodgers, yes, that would surprise me big time. The Padres,
what about the Daddies?
no.
No, the one thing I agree with that one commenter, the Padres do have to prove a little more. Like the Dodgers are the defending World Series champions, and they've made it with a different cast of characters too. Like someone asked if like what is Yu Darvish proved? Well, he did like ace the Dodgers to the World Series. Well, not ace, they had Kershaw and Buehler, but I mean Darvish went to the postseason, and then his only like real bad performance that year was when the Houston Astros were kicking garbage cans and George Springer hit a bomb off of him in the first inning because he knew a fastball was coming. I mean, come on. Yu Darvish has been one of the best pitchers in the league for a long time. He had the rough stretch with the Cubs early on, and he was very injured. And yeah, I don't know. I'm high on Yu Darvish. I mean, all I got to do is watch him pitch with San Diego. He's got like a 2.01 ERA right now. I believe he's like 5-1 or 6-1.
Yeah. But to answer your question, the Dodgers, it would very much surprise me. The Padres, I'm not going to say I could see it, but I mean, you know who I stand with in that division. It's the Dodgers, and I like the Giants this year. I think Cub fans are going to see it firsthand this weekend. So,
yeah, you don't discredit the Dodgers for winning the World Series in the short season, do you?
Not one bit.
Because
the World Series the past like 3 years before that.
Been in the World Series with 3 different years. They lost the first 2. The first one, the Astros were blatantly cheating. They have gotten in massive trouble for it. They forfeited draft picks. Their GM and coach both suffered firing fates. And then they went out and added the reigning Cy Young winner, who's been probably their best pitcher so far this season. And he's always working to get better. All you got to do is watch his vlogs to understand that Trevor Bauer's trying to get better every single time he plays. And he uses data to like help his body and all that kind of stuff. So I don't know. I'm high on the Dodgers and the Padres, and I'm high on the Cubs too. I don't think they have an ace. And I think that's like a true, like pitch 3 times in a series level ace, like a Giolito or like what Chris Sale did with the Red Sox pitching 3 times in the World Series. Like, you know, Trevor Bauer. Where are you on Blake Snell?
With the Padres?
Yeah.
I think he's good. I remember when he was on Tampa, he's the guy they took out, right?
Yeah, on 73 pitches because the computers said it would be a good idea to take him.
I think he's up there with the elites. I don't think he's been playing to his true, like, I don't know his exact numbers off the top of my head this season, but I don't know if he's been playing to his true capabilities yet this year with the Padres. But he's definitely a solid pitcher to have. I'd want him on my team.
There are probably Rays fans who would say that he was their ace. I know there's Glasnow. He's amazing too. He's a Cy Young guy, like ace. But I mean, that's your 1-2 punch, Glasnow and Snell. Like, there's no wonder why they made it to the World Series.
Yeah, he says our ace is our closer. I mean,
yeah, your closer who stunk for the first 2 years and found fire this year.
Hey,
I love Dirty Craig. He'll always hold a special place in my heart.
He stunk, but does it matter? Because look at him now.
No, it doesn't. It doesn't matter. But it can give you, like, looking towards the future. And someone's asking who's going to the World Series. That's tough right now. I mean, we don't know what the Cubs are going to do. And I don't think the Cubs are a World Series team. But I think they're like a playoff team, don't you?
Yeah, I don't think they're a World Series team at all.
He's saying I put a lot of stock in what happened last year. I don't know if I agree with that because like everything I'm watching this year tells me that the Dodgers and the Padres are the 2 best teams in the National League, and the Cubs are like right there below them right now. But they had to go They had to have the best May in Major League Baseball in order to even be in this conversation right now. So I don't know. The Cubs are a tough team to predict right now, where the Dodgers and Padres aren't. And the Giants have to prove it to me a little more too.
The Giants, I understand, but I mean, for you not to be able to look at the Padres lineup and just know, like, okay, this team is good based off of, okay, yeah, you can call it last year. If you want to call it a fake World Series, A, you're wrong, and B, it doesn't matter. It's still a World Series championship. And then the prior 2-3 years before that, it's not like they were dust. It's not like they were bad. And then, the shortened season, they took advantage of the shortened season and just made it to the World Series and won it. No, they lost in the World Series to the Astros. They lost in the World Series to the Red Sox. They've been there. They've been consistently the best team in the past 5 or so years. And you look at their lineup, they got Justin Turner, Mookie Betts, Matt Bevy, Max Muncy. All these guys are playing great baseball, not to mention their pitching staff. So to say that the Dodgers aren't legit, I don't know if that's what anyone's saying, but to me, the Dodgers are the best team in the National League.
I would say they're the best team in the league when healthy. Getting Bellinger back is huge.
Exactly. I didn't even mention Cody Bellinger. Exactly.
The one guy on their team who, did he lose? He barely lost the MVP to Yelich a couple years ago, or did he get one? I know Yelich beat out Baez the one year. I think Bellinger did get one.
Maybe. I don't remember. But
either way, he's always in the conversation. He's an elite player. And Max Muncy, man, he was a platoon player earlier in his career, when those Dodgers teams were playing the Red Sox. I don't know. What do you think they're going to do against the Giants and Padres?
Well, based off of, they are hot. They're the hottest team without a question in my eyes.
I think they're going to have a nice run here. I do.
I want to say that, but I don't know.
Just in general, but
so my logic here is, okay, everyone's been sleeping on the Giants all year long. They go into San Francisco, they sleep on them, and the Giants just continue to play good baseball. Everyone thinks, they're not legit, they're just playing good, and they just haven't stopped. They had a rough, I think it was against the Angels, or someone played the Angels and it fucked me over. But I like the Giants in that series, but I'm going to take a split. It's a 4-game series. I'm gonna take the split there, and then the Padres are gonna win 2 of 3. So I think it's gonna be a little cool down week for the Cubs. You can't stay hot forever.
You still have them playing basically 500 and calling that a cool down.
Exactly. I'm not saying they're gonna be bad. I'm saying they're gonna split against the Giants and lose the series one out of 2 games. Or they're going to lose 1 out of 3 games, going 1-2 against the.
Yeah, really quick before I give my prediction, this is huge news. Andrew Vaughn is going on the injured list under the COVID-19 protocols. He's asymptomatic. He was out a couple days ago with what they called bad allergies. So I don't know if that has anything to do with it. But thank you to Laro for pointing that out in the comments and getting us on the case. They're calling up Gavin Sheets, who has been incredible in AAA Charlotte so far this season. He was by far the top guy to be considered to be the first call up. Jake Berger's been mashing, but Gavin Sheets has been unreal. So it's going to be interesting to see. I know we have a starting lineup that just came out 4 minutes ago, and it looks like they're going to have Mercedes still be the DH. They're going to have Lamb in left field, and then for some reason they have Leury Garcia playing second base over Nick Madrigal. So it's going to be interesting to see how that goes. But hopefully Andrew Vaughn is okay and can get back as soon as possible. I know that the White Sox, you might notice they don't wear masks in the dugout anymore. They are one of the teams that are 85% vaccinated, and of tier 1 employees, of course. So they most of the guys got the vaccine. Obviously, this probably means Andrew Vaughn is not one of those guys. But I'm not going to sit here and cast accusations. Everyone can make their own decisions, and who knows, he might have even got it and this just be extremely cautionary. Mm-hmm. But I know how I feel when I get a little cough. I'm like, uh-oh. But yeah, hopefully he's okay. Back to the Cubs.
Yeah,
I have the exact same thing as you.
Split
with the Giants, and then the Padres are going to be upset, man. Now here's the thing: Fernando Tatis Jr. left the game against the Cubs, and we don't know his injury status. I'm assuming it's nothing too serious.
Yeah, I saw that, and I didn't know if there was going to be like more of a long-term thing on that, or
They're in trouble if they lose him. I mean, can they do what the White Sox have done?
no.
And-
I mean, I don't know the guys that they'd call up. Like, I don't know much about Sheets that you just mentioned. Like, I don't know what's up.
Sheets is pretty good, but we'll see what happens in the majors.
Exactly. You know, I don't know anything about the Padres prospects, so I'm not going to sit here and pretend like if Tatis went down long term, how I think like they'd fill that gap, because that's an unreplaceable gap.
I know they have the best pitching prospect in baseball, in my opinion,
Really?
Mackenzie Gore. He'll probably be their like ace in years to come, and they still have Clevenger on the way too. That's just like he's not playing this year. The Padres are going to be better next year than they are this year, and that's saying something because they're right there this year. If they win the World Series and then add Clevenger and Mackenzie Gore to their rotation, that's almost like winning the World Series and adding Trevor Bauer to your rotation.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, and give me Trevor Bauer versus Clev next year because they were Cleveland Indian teammates. Oh, give me that.
Is Fernando Tatis Jr. the face of baseball right now?
Yes. Undoubtedly.
Did you see his home run throughout the week? I think it was like
it was against the Cubs it was the day he got hurt.
No, I think we're thinking of a different one, because I think this one might have happened even before our last show or the night of. It was very early in the week since our last show.
Yeah.
He crushed it. It was a tying home run in the 9th inning.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
He crushed it, and like he stood at home plate and just watched it with all the fans.
Yeah.
And I loved it.
The ball he hit at Wrigley Field might have been the hardest baseball I've ever seen.
Yeah.
Like, he's been unbelievable. So, yeah, White Sox Dave brought it up earlier in the show. I wouldn't want anyone else besides Tim Anderson playing shortstop for the White Sox. And that lessens the blow of losing Fernando Tatis Jr. But who knows? Maybe Tim Anderson could have been the second baseman or the center fielder. I know they got Luis Robert. Maybe he could have played right field. I mean, if Fernando Tatis Jr. was part of the White Sox right now, things would be different.
Yeah.
They're still a World Series team without him. So imagine with him.
Exactly. Before we wrap things up here, I just you mentioned White Sox Dave. He was our great guest on today's episode of Crosstown Crosstalk, and I want to give my pick right now. You know, I like to give a pick on our baseball show. Tonight I'm taking the White Sox. It's the biggest thing that stuck out to me. They're a big favorite, but I'm not just taking them. I'm taking them on the run line, -1.5. You said Lance Lynn is starting tonight. He's been lights out. So I like them -1.5. There's some good hockey stuff tonight. If you're a fan of our other show, we have our hockey podcast, Bar Down Blackhawk Talk, where we talk about the NHL and playoffs. And I like the Bruins as well. There's great value there against the New York Islanders. But sticking with baseball, the White Sox -1.5 tonight is my move. And then our friend White Sox Dave, if you're betting on the Barstool Sportsbook, has a boosted odds where you can back him. And it's for Yoan Moncada to hit a home run and the White Sox to win. So I'm also doing that. I'm writing White Sox Dave, and we'll see how that works out. Go Yoan and go White Sox.
Absolutely. I mean, what a great interview.
Yeah, exactly. You know, he followed me back on Twitter, and I don't know if he's watching. He gave me a follow on Twitter because I thanked him for I sent him a message because he never promoted his odds boost. And I don't want him to get yelled at by whoever would yell at him that he said. So I messaged him and I was like, hey, thanks for coming on the show. Don't forget to promote your odds boost with the little and he said, thanks, man. Thanks for having me. And he gave me a follow. So huge thank you to White Sox Dave for coming on and talking baseball with us. And
absolutely. I want to touch on one more thing before we go. The rivalry.
The rivalry.
We talk about the MLB as a whole on this show. Tell me what you like about the rivalry.
Yeah. I mean, what a good weekend. What a good weekend we have coming up. We have, I don't care if you're tired of hearing about it, if you hate both of these teams. I don't care. We have the Red Sox, who are 32-23, versus the Yankees, who are 31-25. Both sit top 3 in their division, right behind the Tampa Bay Rays. And they're playing for second place this series. I don't think they're going to catch Tampa because they're on fire, but they're playing for second place this weekend. It's the first matchup of the season at Yankee Stadium. Tomorrow we have Nathan Eovaldi versus to be determined. The Yankees have not come out with a lineup yet, and I'm looking forward to it. Both teams are not really playing that great. So I look for both teams to, put everything behind them, the slumps that they're in, and just go at it. That's how slumps are broken. You play your biggest rivals.
Absolutely. I can't wait. It's at Yankee Stadium. The Gabagoos are going to be out in full force.
Pretty much right in time, like full capacity. Expect some big crowds.
Absolutely. I miss Chris Sale. Can't wait to see him pitch for the Red Sox.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, whenever the rivalry's going and it's on live TV, it's certainly going to be fun to watch. We talked about Tatis, and now Baez is in the conversation for like the lead league in home run. There are a couple other guys. I mean, baseball's just so sweet right now, don't you think?
Oh yeah, definitely. And there's some good teams. Like you can turn on any game and see good players and good teams and competitive baseball. And so it's fun. Like look at the Mets. The Mets are what, leading their division?
Yeah, that division kind of stinks though.
It does, but I mean,
that's the same way I see the Cubs, to be honest with you. Except they have DeGrom, who could win a playoff series. Although I think the Mets starting lineup is less than the Cubs by a lot.
Yeah, I was just going to say the Cubs have a way better lineup than the Mets.
Yeah, no, they do.
And I don't think DeGrom makes up for it because he's playing 1 out of 5.
No, and normally they lose when he pitches anyway.
Exactly.
You could back Frank the Tank on the Barstool Sportsbook app.
Yeah.
You got anything else before we get out of here on this show? It was a fantastic show.
Yeah, no, that's all I got. I'm excited for baseball tonight and this weekend. I'm excited for hockey, especially. We got Game 3 in New York tonight with the Boston Bruins and Islanders. So let's get a couple W's tonight, eh?
Absolutely. I had a complete blast. It was a lot of fun. I want to say thank you one more time to White Sox Dave. Make sure you listen to Redline Radio every Thursday. They interviewed Jerry Springer this week. So that's an interesting one for their All Chicago Sports pod.
Do they need the shout outs from us to go have people watch their show?
Yeah, listen to us being like, make sure you go listen to Red, like they need our help.
Yeah, right. Could you imagine if they said, hey, check out Bar Down in Crosstown Crosstalk?
Yeah, now we got to get Pink Hat Chief on Redline or on Crosstown Crosstalk. He told me he would come on and then he ghosted me.
Well, we're gonna work on getting Chief on there, Carl on here to talk.
I want Carl on here, yeah.
And then I don't know if we ever talk Bears or something with Eddie. Eddie's my guy. So
yeah, absolutely. Thank you, Dave, for coming on. It was a blast. I hope people watching this because of Dave retweeting it. I hope you guys check back. We're here every Thursday at 2 p.m. talking Chicago baseball and MLB. And on Wednesdays, you can catch Bar Down Blackhawk Talk, an all hockey podcast where we go over the Blackhawks, whatever's going on in the modern NHL right now. It's so much fun. So any last words?
Nope.
All right. Make sure you follow at Joey Parisi on Twitter and at Vinny Parisi on Twitter. It was a great show. Thank you again to Dave, and we'll talk to you guys soon.
Later.